Shalom, shalom, Israel. The water for coming out to another installment of the class, Sword of Truth, San Antonio. Before we get going, shout out to Houston, SOW Houston, SOW Rochester, and SOW Virginia. Also, special shout out to Cabo in Guatemala, Amiyataza in London, and the brothers and sisters who listen abroad, LA, Georgia, Atlanta, those as well. Shabbat Shalom. Today we have a very important topic. A lot of times people, whether you're in a Christian or in a religious way of thinking, people will look at judgment and kind of shy away from it, like it's a taboo type of thing. You can't judge me. Only God can judge me. Only, who are you? You're not my daddy. These type of carnal, vain ideas is what motivate people, or rather stalls out their development. All right. Now, the class isn't necessarily about why we should judge, but rather the difference between a true judge and a non-true judge, which we're going to classify as a persecutor. And we'll get more clarity on that title as we go on. Shabbat Shalom, everybody online. I'm going to have you orchestrate the... I didn't do any of the scriptures. It's my fault. So to get going, we'll start with... let's do... Give me Judge in 1828. Give me Judge in 1828. Just to get clarity on what exactly we mean by judge. What does that judgment entail? Judge 1828 in the fourth definition. Yes, sir.
What's the name of this class?
Salaki, I didn't even say the name. The name of the class is called Are You a Judge or a Persecutor? All right. Are you a judge or a persecutor? Give me that in definition of judge.
Definition of judge?
No, look, I want them to do it. You got it.
Judge in 1828, definition number 4.
Mm-hmm.
One who has skill to decide on the merits of a question.
So, first and foremost, it says one who has skill has the ability to decide on the merit or the validity of a question, all right, or a debate or a cause. It doesn't necessarily say it has to be Christ, all right. That's very important because some people say, well, if you're not God himself, then you can't tell me anything about myself. That's not true. So you have to have the skill to be able to judge and correct and admonish, all right. That's very important to establish.
Right. Like Samuel, right?
What do you mean? Expound on that a little more.
Samuel was a judge.
Yeah, but expound on it a little more. What do you mean?
Samuel, he would go and tell Saul specifically where he's faltering, where he's coming short. He would admonish him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He would reprove with malice at times.
God.
So that's judging. Right? And he's not the Most High.
And most importantly, that was a very consistent aspect in his nature. Meaning he judged or corrected for the betterment of Saul. You even look at when he was dealing with Saul, he was grieved when Saul lost the virtue of the Most High. Because he really put a lot of time and investment. All the corrections, all the time, all the counsels were for his benefit ultimately. So that is essentially one of the many examples in the Bible on what a true judge is. But finish that in point 4.
Judge, one who has skill to decide on the merits of a question or on the value of anything. One who can discern truth and propriety.
So, a judge encompasses a whole lot. Before we get into, and this class isn't about what a judge or no. It's not about if we should be a judge, but rather what spirit do you have to be in to be considered skilled as a judge, to be considered qualified as a judge. All right? So let that go. The first scripture is Ephesians 4 and verse 10 through 13. Ephesians 4 and verse 10 through 13. Because what better example of a judge than Yahweh Shai? So we're going to find out. We're going to go through a sequence of scriptures explaining the mentality of Christ, explaining the how he's structured, or rather, what helps structure his judgment. What helped guide his judgment. Ephesians 4 and verse 10 through 13.
Come. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 10 reads, He that descended is the same also that descended up far above all heavens.
So the same spirit, the same person, being Christ, or Yahweh Shai, is the same entity that is above all, who's the creator. All right, we understand that. But we are going here to establish he's talking about Yahweh Shai. He's talking about Christ. Read on.
That he might fill all things.
Uh-huh.
And he gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers.
So Christ didn't leave us with nothing. He didn't leave us exampleless. These people, the evangelists, the pastors, the prophets, the teachers, the apostles, these people were supposed to do something. They had a job on earth. Read on.
For the perfecting of the saints.
Their job was to help what?
Perfecting of the saints.
Because ultimately, all of our goal is to be perfect or as close to perfection as possible. Now, when we dissect the word perfection or perfecting, it's talking about maturity. Because no one is perfect. But what he's establishing is these teachers, these developers, these leaders, their job was to help mature the saints, mature the spirit of the judges. Read on.
For the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Yahweh Shai.
So their job is to perfect the saints or mature the saints and for the edifying of the body of Yahweh Shai. So what was the judge's job from the beginning? What was it? What were they supposed to be doing?
To edify. To edify.
No. Their job was to be mature enough to help others work on themselves. To help mature others. Edifying means to exhort, make you better, push you to be a better person. So their job, on top of mastering itself, is to help mature the people around. Read on.
Come, till we all come in the unity of the faith.
And we understand when we come as a unity in the unity of faith, that's when Yahweh Shai comes. That's when we'll fully be in the unity of faith. Read on.
And of the knowledge of the Son of the Most High unto a perfect man.
So their purpose is to help develop you so you can get the knowledge of the Son of Power or the Son of the Most High and mature you. That is their goal. That is the judge's goal. And also, this was Christ's goal. This was Yahweh Shai's goal. This is why he came down. He came down to help mature us, give us the knowledge of the Most High, so that we could operate in a more complete or more mature state of mind. When it came to judgment, when it came to correction, when it came to exhortation. Read on.
Unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Yahweh Shai.
Because ultimately, the judges and Christ himself was trying to develop us so we could measure up to his stature, so we could measure up to his being. Did he not say himself that he wants us all to be sons, all to be brothers? You read that in 2nd Esdras. Ultimately, the goal is, as far as perfection or maturity, is to get as close to the Heavenly Father as possible. But that starts in increasing your knowledge of the Heavenly Father and actually living it. So we're going to get into this a little more. Let that go. Give me Isaiah 7 and verse 14 through 15. We'll see if it gets 15.
Isaiah 7:14.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14.
1 second. All right.
Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. Therefore, the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive.
Now, for the new students, this is not what this class is going to be about, but the virgin, when we have the breakdown behind it, but just to give a brief synopsis, it means a woman of marriageable age. All right. This was not no angelic birth here. Christ said himself, it behooved him in Hebrews 2 to come like his brothers, to be made in all ways or like his brothers. So that includes how he was born and how he was conceived. All right, that's a whole breakdown in itself. But I wanted to throw it out there for new students that are listening. All right,
that would be the Immaculate Conception.
That's the Immaculate Conception concept. It is online, but we might have to re-go that in the summer as well. But just to keep that in the back of your mind. So the Lord, the Heavenly Father, was going to give us a sign that David's lineage is going to be taken care of. That the priesthood was going to be taken care of. That his people were going to be taken care of. And that was going to be his son, Yahushua. Read on.
It says, "Behold, a virgin shall conceive, and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel."
And Emmanuel, this means God is here. All right, read on.
"Butter and honey shall he eat."
So, we got to break down this concept, butter and honey. For those that don't understand or are new, we got to slow roast it like a. Damn, I butchered the saying, bro. I heard this awesome saying. You got to slow roast it. Nah, not rotisserie chicken. Slow roast it like a brisket. Something corny. It was funny though. I liked it. I was trying to use it and I forgot it. The point of the matter is, we're gonna take our time in explaining it. Butter and honey. Let's establish what honey is. Does anybody know how we can prove what honey is? What verse? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, too late. Ezekiel 3, let's go. Come on, y'all. Officers, that's got to be like on key, on top.
Okay.
Ezekiel 3 and verse 1 through 3. Let's get that.
Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 3.
And verse 1.
Verse 1, Salah.
Yeah.
Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 1. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest.
So the Lord told Ezekiel, eat what you find. Consume, partake in what you find. Read.
Eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel.
Now, what we're going to find out is the Most High uses a lot of similes or a lot of symbolism to establish a greater point. Is he saying to Ezekiel, eat this piece of bread, this bread roll, and speak to the house of Israel? Get your stomach full and then go speak to the house of Israel? Or is there a deeper meaning behind that? Before we go there, give me verse 2.
So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll.
So what is the roll? Give me Ecclesiastes 15 and verse 3 really quick. Ecclesiastes 15 and verse 3. What are we establishing? We're going here to show what the butter and the honey meant. Before we get there, we have to find out what is this roll that he's telling Ezekiel to partake in. Read on.
Ecclesiastes 15 and 3 in Apocrypha. But the bread of understanding shall she feed him.
So the bread of understanding, not the bread of barley. The bread of understanding is what wisdom or what the Lord is feeding us. Read on.
And give him the water of wisdom to drink.
Okay, so that roll that he was telling Ezekiel to eat is the bread, or rather to partake in, is the bread of understanding. This bread of understanding is going to have an effect on us. Let that go. Give me Ezekiel 3 and verse 2 and 3.
Ezekiel 3 and verse 2. So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness.
So the effect of partaking or eating this bread of understanding was sweetness to the taste, comparative to honey. So when Christ, when there's in Isaiah 7:15, when it's saying Emmanuel, Christ was going to eat butter and honey, the honey was the roll or the bread of understanding. Keep that in the back of your mind. I don't want y'all to get lost here. What you got?
Never mind. So I was going to go to Revelation 10:9. That's where you asked the question.
No. I don't know. What? But it's already too late. I already answered the question, huh? All right, let that go. Go back into Isaiah 7 and 15 real quick.
Isaiah chapter 7, verse 15. Butter and honey shall he eat.
So, how do you make butter? Does anybody know? The physical action.
You gotta churn it. You gotta turn it from
Milk comes from the fat of milk.
the milk has to be heated, and then the curds go to the top, and then those curds are churned.
Come. So ultimately, there's an agitation process to that. So remember, the bread of understanding is sweet to the taste. 1 Peter 2 and 2 says what? What exactly are we churning? What exactly are we agitating to produce butter?
1 Peter chapter 2, verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
As newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby.
So, the scripture says we have to desire the sincere milk of the word. Again, the word is now being symbolized as milk. We've got it as milk. We've got it as bread. What we have to take away from that is the butter is the evolved state of milk. Butter is the matured state of milk. Actually, to get butter, you have to exercise milk. You have to agitate milk. Proverbs 30 and verse 33. You have to agitate, you have to churn milk. Like the brothers have said, just to prove that point.
Proverbs 30 and 33. Surely the churning of milk bringeth forth butter.
So the churning of milk, the agitating milk, brings forth butter. Why are we going on this long explanation and this drawn out symbolism? To show when Christ says he was eating butter and honey. Give me that in Isaiah 7:15 again.
Isaiah chapter 7, verse 15. Butter and honey shall he eat.
He was eating butter and honey to do what?
It says that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good.
I didn't know butter and honey, the foods, was going to give us the ability to discern good and evil. Most people don't even eat real butter. You can't even see proper butter, but you now have the ability to see good and evil. That's not what it's talking about. This is all symbolic. The honey symbolized the effect of the word, of partaking in the word. The butter is the agitating or the maturing, or rather the exercising, the application of the word. When you combine all these things, now you're able to discern good and evil. Now you're able to get the understanding or have the skill necessary to be a judge. We're going to prove that. Hebrews 5 and verse 12. Hebrews 5 and verse 12 through 14. Are y'all lost? Does this make sense?
I get it. Yeah.
I know you get it. Now, I hope y'all get it over here.
I get it.
Do I need to explain it further for those that are in the class? I don't mind going back over it again.
So since butter is the agitating or exercising
Of the what?
of the word.
Of the milk, which is the word. Exactly.
Of the milk, which is the word of God.
The butter is the byproduct of the agitation or the maturing of the milk. Yes, sir.
It's the finishing product.
It's the finished product, or some would call it, it's the food version of milk. How about that? It's the food version of milk. Give me that in verse 12. There's a reason why I say that.
Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 12 reads, For the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of the Most High.
So before you become a proper judge, before you're a proper leader, before you can properly navigate somebody else through their day-to-day struggles, you have to be first retaught on how to teach, how to instruct, and how to judge circumstance by circumstance. Christ understood that. We'll prove that later. Everybody understood that. There's a growing process to turn that milk, to turn that sweetness into a mature product, which is your future judgment, which is your discernment level. Read on.
Ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of the Most High, and are become such as have need of milk, and not of strong meat.
So in that point in your development, when you're still relearning how to be a judge, you need more milk. You need more word. You need more basic concepts to implant into your mind. You don't need the finished product yet. You're not there yet. You got to master the basics. I'm not talking about just the basic breakdown. I'm talking about basic concepts, basic social application concepts regarding wisdom. This is what it means when you're in the beginning stages of your leadership. Yes, sir. Oh, that's your asking. Okay. Keep reading.
Verse 13. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness.
If you're still in this stage, it doesn't mean you're wicked. It just means you're not a judge yet. When you still need the sincere milk, when you still need to be retaught how to apply the milk in your day-to-day life or with somebody else, you're unskilled as a judge. You're not ready for judgment yet. You're not ready to be a judge. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we have to establish that in ourselves before we start passing down laws, passing down procedures, passing down judgments. If we in ourselves have not mastered this in us yet, and we still need to be retaught. If we're having to constantly be retaught yet, that lets you know where you're at. This is very important to establish.
And that judge is like an evaluator, you know, someone that sees the quality, oversees the quality of someone's work,
Yeah.
or you know the importance of prioritizing one thing over another.
But how can you be able to discern the quality of the work if you yourself don't know what top quality is? If you yourself don't live the higher quality,
According to the Bible.
And that's the point. It's according to the word. If you haven't mastered the word yet, if you haven't mastered the meat of the word, the maturity of the word, and it doesn't show in your day-to-day works, you're not ready for that evolution to be called a judge yet. Because now you got people's lives in your hand. And when you have people's lives in your hand, you can make or break somebody. This is the difference between a judge and a persecutor. The persecutor destroys lives, vexes lives, angers. The judge edifies. That is the major distinction between the two. Because they understand, what am I doing this for? I'm not going to spoil it, but let's keep reading verse 13 again.
Come, for everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe.
He is still a babe in righteousness. Regardless of patch, regardless of rank, regardless of years, if you haven't passed this beginning stage, if you haven't mastered this beginning stage, and you're still being retaught how to follow, you're still being retaught how to lead, you're still being retaught how to disseminate information, you're still a babe in the word of righteousness. That's what the scripture is saying. Read on.
But strong meat belongeth to them that are at full age.
Strong meat, it just means mature food. The strong meat, again, we're still talking about the word of righteousness. That matured word is the butter, which means the application, which means the exercising of the word. When you've exercised it enough to now live it, you can become a proper judge. When this becomes a focal part of your lifestyle, you can become a proper judge. If you are just saying things that you don't live, you're not in judgment yet. You still need to practice. You still need more skill. Keep reading.
Even those who, by reason of use, have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil.
So how do I go from the stage of milk to a finished product or a mature product? You're constantly using it. How do you constantly use anything? It becomes an everyday part of your life. Your everyday thought process. Your everyday application. Not just in correction, but in correcting yourself.
Lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle change. It is a complete lifestyle change. If the thing you check and chastise is what you yourself do yourself, that's not a lifestyle change. That is a persecutor. That is a hypocrite. What we're trying to find out is what establishes and what aspects or character traits will let us find distinct differences in the two, between the judge and the persecutor. Now, where are we at right now?
Hebrews.
Why was Christ so important? Because Christ had the butter, which was the exercising of the word. To now having his senses exercised. How did he get his senses exercised? Does anybody know when his senses started getting exercised? Verse, situation. What you got?
Ecclesiastes chapter 2.
Nope. That's not what I'm looking for. Luke, give me Luke 2. Luke 2. Again, what was the beginning part of the verse? You have to be first retaught. Christ, Yahushua, didn't come in with all the knowledge. He wasn't just born with the wisdom he had at 30 years old. He wasn't born with the judgment he had at 30 years old. He had an excellent and a pure spirit, which is why he was blessed with pure judgment. And we'll get to that later. 2 and verse 46.
Luke chapter 2, verse 46.
Through 52.
And it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors.
His mother and his father had literally left back to Jerusalem, not Jerusalem, but Bethlehem, and realized we don't have our son. Because Christ was sitting with the doctors, chopping it up and asking them questions. Read on.
It says, of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions.
So, what was Yahushua doing?
In that turning.
No.
Exercise.
He was being trained. He was being trained still.
Okay. No.
He's being trained. He's being trained how to use the milk, which means he's still unskilled in the milk. And there's nothing wrong with that. There has to be a starting point. There has to be a developmental point. But from the time he got trained to eventually how his mindset was, you can tell the evolution. You can tell the growth. You can tell how oft it was being used. Finish that up.
Verse 47. It says, and all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers.
Mm-hmm.
And when they saw him, they were amazed. And his mother said unto him, Son, why hast thou thus dealt with us?
As any parent would ask, the stress, the anxiety, the fear of having a child not by them, not knowing where that child's at, anybody can understand that. But what he was doing was something that the children of Israel was going to need eventually. They're going to need the moments that he learned from these times, the times when he was exercising in his youth of understanding, to be able to discern and judge properly in the future. Read on.
It says, yes, my son, why hast thou dealt with us? Behold, my father and I have sought thee sorrowing.
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto them, how is it that ye sought me?
He said, what do you mean you sought me? Just like us. If anybody wants to know where the Israelites are at, we're at 444 Walls Road. You can't miss us. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. We're going to be here regardless. Every day, every one of those days. You couldn't miss us. How are you looking for me, mother, when you know where I was going to be at? Well, you know what my job entails. Read on.
God, how is it that ye sought me? Wist ye not that I must be about my father's business?
Don't you know where my priorities lie? My priorities lie in getting trained up and getting developed so I can use this word more efficiently for my people. This is where our priorities should be lying. Can I get trained up and develop so when it's time for me to be a judge, I'm not lacking. I'm not a hypocrite. I don't turn into a persecutor. Read on.
Verse 50. And they understood not the saying which he spake unto them.
Mm-hmm.
And he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was subject unto them. But his mother kept all these sayings in her heart.
She might not have understood it, but she considered it and she thought about it. Read on.
And Yahushua increased in wisdom and stature.
And this is very important. He increased in wisdom. He kept learning, kept being trained. Read on.
In stature and in favor of the Most High and man.
He says he kept learning, he kept growing, he kept maturing. So now the Most High was going to start blessing his works, blessing his conscience, blessing his judgment. And men were going to be able to appreciate what he brought to the table. Let that go. Give me 2 John, St. John 5 verse 30.
St. John, chapter 5, and verse 30.
Mm-hmm.
I can of mine own self do nothing.
He said if it was based off of me, I don't have the power or the will or the authority to do anything, to judge anything, to condemn anybody. Read on.
As I hear, I judge.
But I'm hearing what spirit you got on it. I'm watching what spirit you got on it. And I'm going to judge because now I have my senses exercised and I've been learned enough to properly judge for your benefit. Read on.
And my judgment is just.
He said, but why is his judgment just versus our judgments? What is the difference? Read.
Because I seek not mine own will.
He says he doesn't have a will. I mean, he doesn't have a motive. I'm not doing it for anything. I'm not doing it to get my ego stroked. I'm not doing it for my pride. I'm not doing it because I'm insecure. I'm not doing it because I'm mad at you. I'm not doing it for any other reason except you need it for your edification. And if you don't get it, you're going to anger the Father. You'll get on his bad side. That's why his judgment is just. Read on.
But the will of the Father which has sent me.
Because the Most High sent him on a mission. Just like the Most High has sent each and every one of us on a mission. To be properly, to properly judge. To be skillful in judgment. But a lot of times, that judgment gets skewered by what was said earlier. Insecurities, pride, anger, wanting to always be right, which is another variant of pride. Now we have our judgment skewered because I'm doing this for my will now. This is my motivation. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying to you. I can't back what I'm saying. I can't back how I'm saying it. Nor do I have an end result in why I say what I say, except I want to feel good from this conversation. I want to feel like I'm on point. I want you to feel like you're not on point. We don't keep unraveling this. This is going to show that is the major difference between the judge and the persecutor. What is the intention and what's the motives behind it? Why do you want to be a judge? Why do you want to increase in knowledge? Let that go. St. John 12 verse 49.
John chapter 12 and verse 49. John chapter 12 and verse 49. For I have not spoken of myself.
Christ took it another step further. He said, not only do I not have the same will or my own will, he said, I don't even speak for myself. Read.
But the Father which sent me, he gave me a commandment.
Whoa. The Most High gave him a commandment to do what?
What I should say.
What I should say? Meaning, everything that's come out of his mouth was coming directly from the Father. So if you got a problem with it, you got a problem with Christ. But what we do is, a lot what comes out of our mouth is what we feel inside. Our opinions, how we view life. Not realizing, hardly do we what?
Yes, right.
Hardly do we view anything in a correct manner. Hardly do we have any type of righteous mindset to even judge anything correctly. If it's not scripturally based, if it's not after the will of the Most High. He's saying, as I'm commanded to speak what I say. Read.
And what I should speak.
And the spirit behind what I should speak. That's very important. He's commanded he's commanded on what he should speak and what he should say. But we have to understand there's a motive behind, and there's a strategy behind everything Christ says. And the strategy and the motive is ultimately to see yourself so that you don't fall and utterly corrupt yourself. We understand in Jeremiah it says that only wicked and shall what?
Correct.
We correct and we exhort and we teach so that your own wickedness doesn't cause you to fall. Because we oppose ourselves most times than not. We are contrary to the Father. So those that are skilled enough are supposed to interject and correct and teach. That's what Christ was doing. That was the spirit behind why he did what he did. It wasn't to condemn. It wasn't to sit here and make you feel bad. It wasn't to sit here and lower your self-esteem, but rather to help you, to save you, to inspire you. If the Pharisees took what Christ was saying as an opportunity or as a chance to get closer to God, they could have grew a lot faster. But what stopped them? Their pride. You're hurting my ego. You're hurting my self-esteem. You're hurting my image. Therefore, I don't want to hear this. Therefore, I got to get you out the way. You're now the object of infamy in my life. You're an adversary. Completely in the contrary state of mind. But this is what Christ came to do. And this is what he sent us to do. Let that go. Wisdom of Solomon, 6 and verse 16.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6, verse 16. For she goeth about seeking such as are worthy of her.
That she is referred to as wisdom. A lot of people ask, how can I get the wisdom? How do I get the knowledge? How do I retain information? You read in Proverbs 10, the memory of the just is blessed. How do I get these things? Well, wisdom is trying. It's trying your judgment. It's trying your sincerity. It's trying your purity. Why give knowledge or the spirit of power to anybody who will abuse it. This is what wisdom is looking for. If I give it to you, what are you going to do with it? The little we do with our wisdom, we abuse. We take it as an opportunity to uplift ourselves. So why give you anything more? Rather, I'm going to keep you in the same place you're at for years until you figure it out. That's what wisdom does. I'm going to halt your growth until you figure it out. Keep reading.
For she goeth about seeking such as are worthy of her, showeth herself favorably unto them in the ways, and meeteth them in every thought.
Because if wisdom is not meeting you in every thought, when the time is needed, when the judgment is needed, that's how you know you're in a contrary spirit. And you're in a persecutor type spirit, not a proper judge, not a skillful judge, and not the spirit in Christ. Let that go. Give me 2 Chronicles 19 and verse 6.
Fine, man.
I got 30. I got 30 in Johns, man. This is the first half. But I do gotta slow it down. I'm kind of doing too much.
Like a DJ over here.
2 Chronicles chapter 19 and verse 6.
I gotta slow it down, bro. Let me get that. Read that, sir.
2 Chronicles chapter 19 verse 6. And said to the judges, take heed what ye do.
It says you need to consider what you do. Really analyze what you do, what you say, and who you represent. Read.
For ye judge not for man.
Your judgment, your wisdom is not for yourself. It's not to boast you up. It's not to make you feel better about yourself. You judge for who? Read.
But for the Most High, who is with you in the judgment.
But when we start taking matters in our own hands, the Most High removes his presence from your judgment. He removes the efficiency. How do we know that? Because now he'll start having the people around you question your judgment. Question sincerity behind what you say, what you do. That's how you know the Most High is removing his presence from your judgment. Part of that is Israel being rebellious. But the other part of it is you don't live it yourself. Because the first thing the person that's being judged says is, in their mind, I've seen you do the same thing. I don't think you'd live this way. Now you're clouding judgment. Now you're making it difficult for men or women to see the value in what you're bringing to the table on behalf of Christ. This is what Paul said, not a stumbling block. You become a stumbling block because of what your example entails. Because of why you say what you say. Because men are not foolish. Men can see when they're being taken advantage of. Men can see when they're being oppressed. Men can see when you're trying to manipulate them. And the Most High will give them the ability to see that just to show you, hey, I need to clear up my reasoning behind this. I need to clear up my sincerity behind this judgment. Who am I really doing this for? Why am I really correcting this brother on this? Why am I really riding this person on this? Why am I really riding this sister on this? Is this beneficial to their spirit? To their growth? Or does it make me feel better with myself? These are the questions you got to start asking yourself. Why do I do what I do? And is my motivation truly persuaded by Christ's motivation to further his ministry? Let that go. Give me Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 15.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7 and verse 15, reads, the Most High have granted me to speak as I would.
Solomon said, when I was in the right mindset, when I made wisdom, when I married wisdom, when I made wisdom my priority, since he granted me what I should speak and what I should say. He'll put the words in your mouth to be the proper influence. When the sincerity is there, when you're doing it for the right reason. Read on.
For the Most High have granted me to speak as I would, and to conceive as is meet for the things that are given me.
And he also said, the Most High gave me the ability to conceive or to understand or to intake the things that are beneficial to my development. He didn't allow me to miss lessons. He didn't allow me to miss information, miss potential growth. He didn't allow certain verses, certain concepts, certain understanding to fly through me, to fly by me. When I was doing it in a sincere spirit, I was able to intake and partake and conceive in everything that the Most High had to offer me. Because I was doing it for the benefit of his people. That is what Solomon's motivation was. It wasn't the riches. It wasn't the fame. It wasn't the glory. It was the idea that I am young and I am needy. And I need your help, Lord, to help me lead these people better for you. That's what got blessed. Let that go. Give me 1 Corinthians 2 and verse 12 through 15. Slow down. 1 Corinthians 2 and verse 12 through 15.
1 Corinthians chapter
2.
2, yes, verse 12 through 15. So, 1 Corinthians chapter 2.
All right.
Whatever you're ready.
All right. Give me that.
1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 12. Now, we have received not the spirit of the world.
This is what Paul is saying. If we're going to be in true spirit of judgment, we have to get out of the spirit of the world. How the world viewed judgment. When the world decided to let you know you were off, what was the reason behind it? This is what they call jostling. This is what they call clowning. Bring you down. The reason behind it is when I make you feel, or when I let you know what you're off in, it makes me feel good about myself. When I clown you on your fit, when I clown you on your personality, when I clown you on your circumstance, a lot of times it's because I'm in a very similar circumstance. And I'm looking for any old type of advantage to make me feel better about myself. That is one aspect. There's one aspect of judgment according to the spirit of the world. Another aspect of judgment, on the same vein, because I'm affluent in this, because I'm strong in this, I want to make you feel small in that. And I'm going to let you know you don't compare to me in that. He's saying we have to get out of that spirit of judgment. Because that spirit of judgment is not what's allowed here. That type of thinking isn't what's backed by the Most High. Read on.
God. It says, but the spirit which is of the Most High.
We have to take on the spirit of the Most High, which means the will of the Most High. Like Christ said, I speak what the Most High tells me to speak. I think what the Most High wants me to think. Because the Most High's thoughts, wisdom's thoughts are in every one of my own thoughts. Every time I'm processing information, interpersonal relationship, I'm thinking about what would Christ want me to say in this moment. What scripture do I have to back up my mind frame? What story do I have to back up my mind frame? What is the best spirit to be in when I'm dealing with this particular person? What is best for this person? Because we also understand we have to be all things to all men. Some men need certain things. Some men need different types of correction. Some men need more. For instance, Jude. Jude says you have to save some with compassion, understanding, patience, understanding their viewpoint, understanding where they came up. And others, you save with fear, hating the spot on their garment, because that's what they need. Because if you give them an inch, they're going to take it and run with it. They're going to corrupt themselves because they're looking for a justification in their wickedness. But how discerned, how skilled, how much have you had to exercise wisdom to be able to even see that? Who needs what? Who can handle what? There's certain brothers that can't handle a check. So you know what you do? Try to be as patient as possible. Because you know the one time you check them, that's it. Can't handle it. There's some, you got to roll hard on them because they respect nothing else. They don't respect soft talk. They don't respect patience. They want power because they roll in power, or they think they roll in power. So they want that same type of energy. They might not tell you it, but that's just what it is. everybody rolls in different spirits? Do you have enough discernment and skill to see what each and every person needs to pull the best out of them? To ultimately get the most out of that spirit. Get them closer to the Most High. Read on.
It says, that we might know the things that are freely given to us of the Most High.
Is we have to take on the spirit of the Most High and not the spirit of the world, so we can be able to even see the power in these scriptures that we were freely given. The power and the lessons that our elders are giving us. The examples that our elders have gave us for the benefit of the flock. You'll only be able to see that if you're in the right spirit and the right mentality. Read on.
Verse 13. Which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Spirit teacheth.
And this goes back into the same point. When we're speaking, when we're correcting, when we're judging, I'm not thinking and I'm not rolling in what man's wisdom will tell me. A lot of times our first thought isn't the wise thought. It's not the spiritual thought. It's the carnal woman thought. It's the carnal man thought. It's how I feel at this moment. It's what my emotions are telling me. Oh, this is what I think. Well, it's not about what you think. What does Christ think? It's time to be in order or time to be disobedient? Time to lock in or rebel? What mentality are you in when you're operating in day-to-day affairs? And how many times are you losing that battle? How many times do you resort to man's wisdom over the Holy Spirit's wisdom? This is what Christ is watching and analyzing. If you resort more times to man's wisdom, you're not ready for judging, to be a judge yet. Because you're going to destroy someone's life trying to sit here and teach and exhort and help someone grow by your own way of thinking. This is where we get the nature boys of the world. I don't know if y'all know who this nature boy guy is. There's a lot of wise Judite brothers and sisters. Many opportunities in life. Many chances to be something in life. Artistic people that were persuaded by this one man to just go off the grid and just live this supernatural life. End up turning into a whole cult. We can't be those people either. We can't stain the heritage in which this school was built on. We can't stain the heritage in which Christ built on. The foundation which Christ set. The proper way of looking at people. The proper way of teaching people. The proper way of leading people. The difference between the two, the judge and the persecutor, is what wisdom are you relying on? What is your go-to? How do you rationalize? Give me that verse says the trial of man is what he speaks.
Yes, is 7.
27-5.
Read it.
Time. Ecclesiastes chapter 27 and verse 5.
The furnace proveth the potter's vessel.
That's not it. Verse 7.
Verse 7. Praise no man before thou hearest him speak, for this is the trial of men.
And for people who are in the seat of receiving judgment, before you give credit to anybody, you have to be able to discern, what are they saying? What are they trying to get out of me? Ecclesiastes 37 says, I'm going to paraphrase it. So I don't want to butcher it. It says, beware of a counselor, and know before what need he hath. For he will do what? Counsel for himself. Because a lot of people counsel for themselves. A lot of people correct for themselves. 1, to tear you down. 2, to build them up. To make them feel less insecure. This is what a lot of people do. This is a normal thing. A lot of people will counsel because they don't want to be wrong all the time. They want to get a win in life. They want to get a win in a debate. I'm tired of being the one on the other side of correction. So I want you to feel like what I feel like. That's not the spirit of Christ. That's man's wisdom. That's man's way of processing. If you're wrong, hey bro, you're wrong. You're not ready to be a judge yet. Learn how to be right first. Nothing wrong with that. But don't act like you're where you say you are if you're not there yet. Because now you're leading people astray. Now you're damaging people's conscience of what Christ is, of what the program should be. Give me that in 2 Corinthians We're still there, right? No, First Corinthians. Yeah. Keep reading on where you're at.
1 Corinthians chapter
13.
2 and verse 13. It says, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Most High.
No, 13.
Oh, Salaki, I apologize. Which things we also speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but the Holy Spirit teacheth.
It says we have to learn how to speak and what the scriptures teach. What we have to start practicing is the majority of my conversations, are they biblical? Are they biblically backed? Are they spiritually backed? You don't have to know every single word verbatim in the scripture, from the Proverbs to the actual dot, the period. But you need to know the concept. You need to have the understanding behind what they say, and how they say it, and why they say it.
You know, I was reading up some scriptures on natural understanding and reasoning, and in this Nave's book, it said the natural understanding is not a sufficient guide in human affairs. So our ways, our thoughts, is not sufficient for what we got to do for the body.
It's not even sufficient in your life.
Right. And that's where I was getting at. It's not sufficient in our life. It's not prudent. It's not wise to guide ourselves, to measure ourselves by ourselves. Right.
That's your go-to. That's the bar right there. Right? We measure ourselves by ourselves.
That's 2 Corinthians 10 and 12. 2 Corinthians 10 and 12.
That's what I'm reading for you. Because that's a beautiful concept. Because how does the pride get built up in the first place?
2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 12. For we dare not make ourselves of the number, or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves.
That's important. He says we don't make ourselves of the number of righteous.
144.
144. The number of people that think they know it all, or that do know it all. It says even Paul's of the world didn't even consider themselves to be on point or be of caliber to the greats. What's crazy is all the greats said the same thing. Esther said the same thing. Esther said, I am not worthy. David said the same thing. I'm dumb, I'm a worm. But when our judgment starts getting skewered, is when we start looking at ourselves greater than who we are, more righteous than who we are, because we have a couple of days of consistency, a couple of days of following orders, a couple of days of being on point, having semi-clear thoughts. That's not enough to quantify in our own heads as being righteous yet. We're not there yet. We're not there. But in the heat of the moment, in the heat of judgment, that'd be what we rely on. We're not thinking about, man, I've had mercy. I am really foul in my way of thinking. I don't follow my dang self. Let me be careful, and let me understand why this brother's where he's at, or why this sister's where they're at, before I just start mouthing off.
Who, what, where, when, how,
why. Let me consider me first before I start looking at you.
A lot of times we don't stop, we don't look, and we don't listen.
Come on, bro.
We just roll through. Like we're some kind of steamroller.
Brother, I got a verse for that too. Finish your point. I want to add on to that. Because you get a beautiful point.
God. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12. For we dare not make ourselves of the number, or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves.
Right. Those judges that counsel for their own purposes.
Yeah.
For those men that we want praise before we hear them.
Wow.
We're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to hear first and then judge.
And because, just on that vein, give me Ecclesiastes 20. Ecclesiastes 20 real quick. Someone give me a definition of babbler.
You say Ecclesiastes 20?
Yeah, 20 verse 5. We're going to go through 8.
You want the definition first?
No, give me the verse first.
Ecclesiastes, the Apocrypha, chapter 20, verse 5. There is one that keepeth silence and is found wise. And another, by much babbling, becometh hateful.
So there's a time when you need to be the wise guy. But there's also the time we need to just listen and prioritize hearing before judging. Prioritize getting the understanding of what this person is bringing you before I'm condemning them. It's because the babbler is who becomes hated. Babbler, give me Babel in 1828.
Babel, 1828.
2.
Con. 2. To talk idly or irrationally. To talk thoughtlessly.
A lot of us talk thoughtlessly. Biblically, thoughtlessly. That's a babbler. A babbler does not have Bible verse in their mind when they talking, when they mouthing off, when they've got an opinion. God calls that a vain opinion. It's worthless. Got no meaning. Got no value. God can see it. Man can see it. Says that person becomes hated because they always got thoughtless thoughts, which result in the thoughtless words called babbling.
And in the end of that, 2 Corinthians says, and comparing themselves by themselves. They're always comparing themselves by. That's what they're always talking to themselves.
Kinda.
You know, they measure themselves by themselves. They're like, no, I'm not that bad. Or you know what, that brother's or that sister's worse than me. You know.
Exactly. And that fuels the pride. That fuels the opinion. Well, I go to more class than this person. I got more Bible verses than this person.
Yeah, operate more class, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm around the body more than this person. That fuels my opinion of myself. You got all that knowledge, all that time, and do just as negative as the person who barely goes to class. How does that look? How does God look at that?
Or you fix your bow tie when you're in class.
Yeah.
And then when you step out, you have to with your steppers on.
You know, you're
you
stepping crazy. You're stepping crazy and you're talking crazy.
Exactly.
You walking like you talking. He says, God hates that person. Man hates that person. Keep reading in that.
Verse 6. Some man holdeth his tongue because he hath not to answer.
He says, some men hold his tongue because he knows it's not your time to answer. He knows your wisdom is not needed right now. You got a lot to fix in yourself before I just start giving my opinion. Read.
And some keepeth silence, knowing his time.
And some have the skill to bring information out when it's the right time for that person. They have enough discretion because that's been exercised. That's the butter. That's the maturity. Being quick, being hasty to correct every spot you see is not wisdom. That's not what the Most High wanted in the first place. Keep reading.
Verse 7. A wise man will hold his tongue till he see opportunity.
That man in verse 6, the one that holds his tongue because he has not an answer and knows his time, that man is called a wise man. That man is a mature man in the spirit. Read.
But a babbler and a fool will regard no time.
But a babbler and a fool, one and the same. They ain't regard no time, no circumstance. They just got to say something. It's thoughtless and they got no value. That person is not who we need to be if we want to get the most out of the people that the Most High put under us. As a husband, I have to have enough discernment to know what my conversation that I'm about to bring to my rib and how it can positively affect her. When is the right time to bring something up? When is the right time to develop this thought process? When is the right time to go to war? Or I'm always the lion in the house. I'm always blasting and yelling. I'm always Mr. Debate Man. I got more debates, more negative comments, and more correction than any positive statement in that household.
And you start wreaking havoc, and it diminishes, and that's a gradual disputing.
Con. What you start doing is you start teaching her that the Bible is a negative thing. That the Bible, every time the Bible gets open, every time you speak, you're just here to hurt me. That's what it means to persecute. Give me that definition. I've been waiting to pull it, but give me that right now. Persecute. In 1828. That's what it literally means to persecute.
Persecute. 1828, Webster's Dictionary. It says, to afflict, harass.
Nope, verse 1.
Verse
1. Point 1.
Point 1?
Yeah.
Kind. To pursue in a manner to injure.
It says, you're going to pursue a manner because I got to injure you. You got to feel this. You got to feel these spiritual swords get cut you up. 1,000 cuts, Chinese cuts. You got to feel this correction. I don't want you to go to sleep until you feel this correction because I'm just so hot right now.
You're harassing at that point.
That's the point. I'm not letting this die. Ain't no mercy in this household. Ain't no patience in this household. You got to get it. Read.
It says, vex or afflict.
Or just to vex your conscience, to disturb your peace.
You're annoying someone persistently.
Kinda. A persecutor just wants to vex your peace of mind. You was doing good. You wasn't even sinning. Why are you coming here correcting? Disturbing another man's peace. Disturbing another woman's peace. What are you trying to gain from this? Are you doing this for Christ? Are you really doing it for Christ? Hey, I got to be blameless. I don't want no blood on my hands. Nah, G. Nah, there was another reason behind that. You had to say that because you wanted something out of this deal. It had nothing to do with righteousness. Like we always say, is this procedure or preference?
Right.
That's been the common saying in Israel right now. Procedure is law. This is what we going to do. This is what has to happen. Preference is how you feel about it. Well, I would like if you were as available as I want you to be available. I would like if you said this a little better. I would like if you looked like this a little better. That's preference. That ain't law. That's your opinion. That ain't God's opinion. Because when you was bringing that opinion out, God was not in your mind. I promise you. There was no verse you was pulling to justify these statements. This is what we do on a day-to-day basis. I gotta give you this breakdown out. You gotta get this breakdown out. No, you gotta hear this. You gotta hear this point. You're not understanding. By the way, maybe you don't get it right now. Maybe he's just not there yet. Break it down to a different way so you can understand. Now he gotta hear it the way I'm teaching it. Okay. Is that godlike or is that your opinion? That's man's wisdom. That's man's way of thinking. That's how we solve our problems. You gotta see it how I want you to see it. Or it ain't true. This is where whole camp doctrines get created. If it ain't coming from us, it ain't what? It ain't the truth. That's crazy. That's craziness. These are where these thoughts get stemmed from. This is why it gets chastised and corrected so hard. Because you can't become that person. You can't establish a camp with that mentality. You're going to destroy lives. Let that go. Let's get back on topic. Give me 1 Corinthians 2 and verse 13 again.
1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 13.
See, I was able to slow it down a little bit.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I had to. No.
We're zooming through.
Bro, I know, bro.
1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 13. It says, which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Spirit teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual.
Exactly, because our job, instead of comparing ourselves with ourselves, we compare spiritual with spiritual. What would this prophet say? How should I say right now? What would the scriptures tell me to say right now? Do I have enough scriptures to even think that way? Before class, we was having a little spiritual joust with some of the brothers. They're just bouncing ideas off each other. Using their ability or using the skills, the scripture on the top of their head to answer questions on the dime. We have to be able to do that in a battle sense as much as we do it in a spiritual sustaining sense. When my carnal side kicks in, my carnal thought process kicked in, can I use scripture to pacify that anger, pacify that opinion, and clearly discern what's true and what's not? That's skill. That is an ability. But that's what the judges need to have. You have to be able to detach. Detach from how you feel from a situation. Detach from your way of looking at life. And take on the goggles, take on the mind frame of Christ. And look at the view, look at the world through Christ's eyes. Only then you'll be able to see, you know what, this situation requires this spirit. This situation requires this understanding. This situation requires me to be this way. On top of everything else you're doing. This is nothing new. We're just clarifying it further. Because as leaders, as new students, we have to be able to see what is the right way that men are supposed to be operating, what is the right way that sisters are supposed to be operating versus the wrong way, versus the prideful way, versus the way of the persecutor. Keep reading.
verse 14. But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Most High.
But again, the natural man, the babes that still ain't mastered the milk, they ain't mastered the word yet. Because to master the word means I had the word in my head. I still haven't got there yet. They can't receive the spiritual side of things. So when it's time to be spiritual, I'm always carnal. Any other time I can try to fake spiritual, but you can't fake it when the heat of the moment. You can't fake it when you can truly change someone's life for the better. You're gonna be who you are.
Yeah, when it's time to judge, I'm carnal, but when it's time to persecute,
Oh, bro,
I'm using the law.
I got all the words to say. This is what the Most said. They rest my words daily. We twist them words daily for my benefit, for my correction. It said, but when it's time to truly be a judge, you're not a judge. Because you can't receive the spiritual things behind what a judge entails. Read on.
It says, for they are foolishness unto him.
It's foolishness because you throw it behind your back. We know that verse, right? Ecclesiastes 21, 15, 16. I'll read it. Ecclesiastes 15. No. It's 21 and 15. I said 21 and 15. Yeah.
Skillful man.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Ecclesiastes 21 verse 15.
Yep.
If a skillful man hear a wise word, he will commend it.
You know the difference between a skillful man, a judge, and a non-judge. Read.
And add unto it.
Yep. They'll be able to add on to the spiritual concept. Read.
But as soon as one of no understanding heareth it, it displeaseth him, and he casteth it behind his back.
But when it's time for that person to hear a spiritual angle, I can't hear that right now. I'm putting that behind my back, which shows you despise the spirit.
And you can't add onto it, but also you can't add it onto yourself.
And that's the point. To add on to it means you start enacting it. You start exercising it. You become the living embodiment of that skillful word. The skillful lessons, the precepts. That's how you add on to it. That's a skillful man. But to the non-skillful man, when it's time to be skillful, when it's time to apply, when it's time to listen, all that go out the window. My opinion's back. My folly's back. My babbling's back. That's what I rely on. That's how you know where that person's at. That's what you know what their strong suit is. That's their mindset. That's where their thoughts are at. You can't hide the thoughts forever. The thoughts come out. You can fake the funk on the outside. You can play the game. But when it's exposed, what we're going to find out is the Most High will expose it. And He will use the opportunities like these. The opportunities when you can correct properly. Or the opportunities when you can receive correction properly. To see where you're at. And to judge where you're at. Let that go. Give me back 1 Corinthians 2 and verse 14. Yes, sir.
1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14. But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Most High, for they are foolishness unto him.
Yep.
Neither can he know them, because they are not spiritually discerned.
They're not spiritually discerned yet. They're not spiritually exercised yet. They're not mature enough to receive these yet. So of course you're not going to be able to see it. Of course you're not going to be able to apply it to your life. Of course. Keep reading.
Verse 15. But he that is spiritual judgeth all things.
But when you're in a spiritual mindset, then yes, you can be that skilled man for somebody else's benefit. You can be that servant for somebody else's life. You can be that person. That's what you're supposed to be. Read.
Yet he himself is judged of no man.
Because his example tightens up. Because if he's living after the Spirit of Christ, if his thoughts are like Christ's thoughts, then he's going to start fixing up the things and the holes that other men can use to pick them apart. That other people can use to justify their weakness. This is the objective. This is what we're trying to get to. This is the maturity that we're trying to get to. But we have to master our thoughts first. If you ain't mastering your thoughts, we can't get to this elevated stage of actually enacting it. Because before action takes place, your thought happens. How many thought battles are we losing? What is our ratio right now? This is the question that we have to ask ourselves. This is the spiritual question. Let that go. Romans 12 and verse 2. Romans 12 and verse 2. Now I can speak.
Yeah, see why he kept doing that. Time.
Yeah.
Romans chapter 12, verse 2. And be not conformed to this world.
Yep.
But be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
We have to be transformed by the renewing of our mind, the way we think, the way we process information. If we can't get there, then we won't be able to be of any good or any service in the Most High or His people. Read.
That ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High.
If we want to learn the will of the Most High, our way of thinking has to change. What spirit we choose to exercise on the daily has to change. The motivation behind what we do every day has to change. This is essential. Romans 15 and verse 1 through 3.
Come. Romans chapter 15 and verse 1 reads, We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak.
And if you're strong and you're getting built up to be a leader, your job is to bear the infirmities or the deficiencies or the shortcomings of the spiritually weaker. That's your job. Read.
And not to please ourselves.
But not use it as an opportunity to oppress them. To please yourself means you get something out the deal. In your conversation, you roll a certain way to get something out the deal. Emotionally or spiritually. It stimulates you. You have to do this for the benefit of that person, the benefit of that spirit. Not your spirit, not your flesh, and not your belly. This is your job. Read on.
Let every one of us please his neighbor for his good to edification.
This was a pleasing for what?
His good to edification.
What does it mean to edify? What is edification?
To exhort.
Get it? 1828. I've been saying the word a lot, so yeah. Edification. One.
Edification. 1828, Webster's Dictionary. A building up in a moral and religious sense.
So my job is to lead you to bear the infirmities of the weak. For those that might be more spiritually lacking than me, to build them up morally and religiously. If I'm attacking you with the intention to vex, inflict, or injure, are you fulfilling your role? Are you doing what Christ told you to do? You might mask it behind the spirit of correction for edification. But how you say it and the spirit behind you rolling in is easy to see. It's easy to discern. The young men are not as foolish as we think they are. They know ninjury. I'm going to say ninjury. They know it. They've been in the world long to discern this guy is talking ish. He's just flexing right now. He's trying to flex on me. That is not what Christ told us to do. Our job was to build the men up morally and religiously, to improve and progress their mind, to show them the power in this, to show them the benefit of this, not to tear them down and make them feel small, not to abuse the authority given to us, not to abuse the little understanding given to us.
And when you abuse, when it says that infirmity, it's what they're not firm in.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, what they're not firm in is in their faith, and you start to break that.
Done. You start to break their faith down. You break their confidence down. You break their spiritual sense of being down. All of us are already humbled in the flesh when we came in here. This whole experience is a humbling process. Our job now, the Most High already tore them down. He said there's a time to break down. And there's a time to build up. If he already tore them down in the world, why are we still tearing them down in the world? Your job is to build them up.
In the truth.
The season that they came in was to help build them up in the spirit. So they can be potent in the spirit. So they can be examples. So they can see, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to operate. I want to be like that brother. I want to be like this. But you know the problem is, we have some people that want to do that, and some don't. So now we have a situation where, well, I'll follow that brother's example, but that brother, this other brother at the same rank, I don't want to follow his example. Or this other brother, I don't know about his example, or this example. Now we have different standards in the camp. Different standards of virtue being pushed in the camp. Because some are pushing for themselves, and some are pushing for Christ. This destroys camps from the bottom up. You got a lot of new fruit coming in. A lot of new spirits coming in. Don't be the person. Don't be the spirit that caused them to think, I don't want to come back anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. There's no way that's the truth. Because that's been said in the past.
And the truth isn't the truth anymore.
That has been said in the past. Men's actions have caused other men to not want to come back anymore. Sisters' actions, sisters' countenance have caused other sisters to not want to come back anymore. Because you got an opinion. Because you think you know something. No, we don't know anything. Not if it's not Christ.
And that sister could have a strong husband in the truth. But because she had with 2 or 3 sisters in the camp,
bro,
either in the sewing department, or in gatherings and getting the food together and stuff like that.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if her husband's strong in the truth or on the podium or a counselor.
Brother, we're dealing with individual spirits here, and each and every one of us has an opportunity, or rather an objective, to build the faith of the next person, to build the faith of the next sister, the next brother, to keep them wanting to keep fighting, keep them wanting to keep learning. Don't hinder the learning process with your opinion. This is what it's saying. Keep reading.
Verse 3. For even Yahushua pleased not himself.
Because Yahushua wasn't pleasing himself. He wasn't doing this for him. He wasn't suffering for him. He wasn't taking the ninja for himself. He was doing it as an example for those that were going to follow him, so that they knew what spirit they needed to operate in.
So they could model that same behavior.
And they could see the comparing and the contrasting between him and the Pharisees. Let me pull that verse real quick, because it's right on point. It's in Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes. One thing establishes the good of another. One thing establishes the good of another. Maybe, yeah. I think so. 42 in the end. The end of 42.
42.
Yeah.
Yeah, read that real quick.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 42.
Give me 24.
42 and verse 24. Okay.
Yep.
It says, all things are double, one against another.
So in everything, there is a complete and contrary way of doing things, or a complete and contrary spirit, or a complete and contrary purpose. All right? Everything is a double. The good is a double with the evil. The bad is a double with the good. Read.
And he hath made nothing imperfect.
And everything was created for his uses. The Pharisees were created to show you the wrong way of operating. Christ was created to show you the right way of operating. Because we need to see both. Because we got both in us. Am I right? We got the Pharisee and we got Christ in us. We got Satan and we got Yahushua in us. That's just what it is. We battle these thoughts all day, every day. Which is where these issues start becoming more prevalent. When that Satan is winning that day, you start seeing it. You start seeing it in men's temperaments. How women operate. How they talk. How they think. Read on.
Verse 25. One thing established the good of another.
But Christ's job was to establish, or rather, The Pharisees were to establish the good of Christ. Because when the Pharisees were in charge, nobody was happy except the Pharisees. Nobody was winning except them. Everybody was oppressed. No one was getting their prayers answered. No one was getting their spirit nurtured. It's all about take, manipulation, false hope. Christ came down to show everybody this is how you're supposed to operate. Read on.
Come on. Verse 25. One thing established the good of another, and who shall be filled with beholding his glory?
And this is the question. Who's going to be filled with beholding the example that Christ left? Who's going to be filled with the spirit that Christ left on earth and in this word? This is what the judge needs to do. He needs to be filled with this example. He needs to be filled with these steps. If not, he's going to do more harm than good. Go back to that Romans in verse 3.
Come. Romans chapter 15 and verse 3 reads, For even Yahushua pleased not himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell on me.
And that's the point. Christ didn't please himself because it was never about him. It's about getting the will of the Father done. But give me Psalms 10 and verse 2. Let me get there real quick. Someone give me that definition of persecute again. Psalms 10 and verse 2. All right, give me that.
Definition of verse.
No, give me the verse first.
Come. Psalms 10 verse 2. The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor.
What does the wicked do?
Persecute the poor.
The wicked in his pride persecutes the poor. Persecute again.
Persecute. It says to pursue in a manner to injure.
The wicked in his pride pursue in a manner to do what?
To injure.
What?
To injure.
And?
Vex.
And?
Or afflict.
And a person's pride, my priority is to injure, vex, or afflict you. And I'm going to pursue this manner until that gets accomplished. Since the wicked person does this, it's fueled by their opinion of themselves. It's fueled by what they think they know. It's fueled by whatever boasting, or rather, whatever achievements they might have had in the world or in the truth. This fuels that pride. This is the reason behind why they got to injure somebody. It's not about extortion. It's not about getting the most out of somebody. It's not about being spiritually discerned to know when it's time to be quiet and it's time to correct. It's not about that. It's about I got to make you vexed. I got to make you injured. I got to afflict you. I got to prick your soul. You got to feel this. They get off to that. Their pride gets off to that. This is what it's saying. The wicked person thinks this way. This is their character. This is how they operate. Let that go. Ecclesiastes 15 and verse 8. Ecclesiastes 15 and verse 8. Why do they persist in this spirit?
Ecclesiastes chapter 15, verse 8.
Yep.
For she is far from pride.
What is far from pride? Wisdom is far from pride. When you're doing things to afflict and vex and injure, wisdom is not in your mind. The Lord is not in your mind. The scriptures are not in your mind. Read.
For she is far from pride, and men that are liars cannot remember her.
And if you're a liar, I'm not just talking about people who just can't ever tell the truth. You're lying to your spirit. You're lying to yourself. Your righteousness is being lied to. Because every time it's time for you to be skilled judge, you result to the carnal man, to man's wisdom. That's the liar. And that's why the wisdom, the scriptures aren't remembered. The wisdom is far from pride and liars.
And it's not that you don't know the scripture, you can't quote it, it's that you can't apply it.
No, some can't quote it. When in a heat of moment, I got no verse in my head. I have nothing to corral my thought process. I have nothing to redirect my fury, my anger, my vexation, my disappointment. And the person, not the sin. Again, we had that class last week. Can we separate the person from the sin? A lot of us cannot. And when those situations arise, all I think about is injury. Let that go. Ecclesiastes 3 and verse 24.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 24. For many are deceived by their own vain opinion.
Many people are deceived by their own worthless opinion, their carnal opinion, their base opinion, that opinion that's created or that you grew up with. How about that? That's not biblical. That's a vain opinion. You're establishing perspective. You're establishing preference off of your vain opinion, not God's opinion. But we want respect. We want you to see our perspective. We want you to see our way of looking at life. But how you look at life is skewered. And it's not biblical. Read.
And an evil suspicion hath overthrown their judgment.
And this is the other side. An evil suspicion. When I rely so heavily on my vain opinion, I can only see the worst in somebody. So now when I'm correcting behind the sense of this person had it out for me. This person don't like me. This person's a hater. That's an evil suspicion. Now my judgment is really off. Now my skill that I've been getting trained up to display, to use, is become obsolete. Because I can't operate in the spirit of wisdom and have all this carnality wrestling in my mind. Yeah, wow. What's up?
There you go. There's a definition of suspicion.
What you got? Read it.
Suspicion. It says the act of suspecting or the imagination of the existence of something without proof.
Hold on, I like that. Give me that Psalms 10 and verse 2 again. That's right on point. Keep that. Read that definition one more time.
Suspicion. It says the act of suspecting, the imagination of the existence of something without proof.
It says the wicked person in their pride does persecute the poor. Part of that is because they have an evil suspicion, which is to hold on to a judgment that is not proven. But that's what verse 2 said. Read that again in Psalms 10 and 2.
Psalms 10 and 2. The wicked in his pride do persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined.
Let them hold on to that perspective then. And let them push themselves out of the spirit of the Most High.
Shoot first, ask questions last.
Look, bro, you can hold on to that. But as you start getting scrutinized, and as your perspective starts getting scrutinized, then it'll start being revealed, oh snap, I wasn't thinking the correct mindset. God actually does not agree with that. He's actually against this perspective. Actually, I got a verse on that. Let me see that. Let me see that real quick. Hold on. This is like the bloopers that I had in there that I didn't put in there. Because I didn't know if it was going to be it or not. But that's where the Spirit's taking it. Yeah, I'm going to jump to the bottom. Give me Ecclesiastes 7, verse 6 through 7. I did put it in there. It says, let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. When the Most High allows that to happen, what's the next circumstance? Read on.
Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 6. Seek not to be judged.
It says, seek not to be a judge. Why would he say seek not to be a judge? Read.
Being not able to take away iniquity.
Why can't you take away iniquity? Because you're only in it to injure. You only add iniquity. You only add on to the person's already negative perspective on life. Negative perspective on the truth. You confirm the worst of their thoughts based off how you act. Some may say, I don't believe anybody could change. Well, they come in the truth. They see veteran men, not change. Be the same guy I see in the world. That's a bad look. Then they'll say, I thought you were the Bible guy. That's bad.
Well, you know what? You remind me of what I was like in the world.
Oh, Con, you remind me of the old me. That's not a good thing.
But you've been here for a minute.
That's not a good thing. He says, do not seek to be a judge if you cannot take away iniquity. Because we add iniquity. We add hatred. We add bad experiences. We are the bad experience. Is it the Bible that people run away from? Or is it the negative Israelites that people run away from?
It's persecuted.
The persecuting Israelites. The injurious Israelites. The vexing Israelites.
You were Paul when he was Saul.
Well, we got a bunch of Sauls out with Hebrew names. With new Hebrew names. New names. We got the new name and act like the old man.
You from LA? Nah, you from Tarsus.
But that's the point. We become the injurious person. If you're that person, still immature or still undeveloped in the righteousness of the word, you still got milk, but you don't got butter yet. Do not seek to be a judge. Don't take on that role because you will get embarrassed. Keep reading.
Come. It says, seek not to be judged, being not able to take away iniquity, lest at any time thou fear the person of the mighty.
It's that if you got a problem with looking bad in front of your subordinates, if you got a problem with looking bad in front of your rib, if you got a problem with looking bad in front of your children, you better change. Because when them elders come in and they put you on blast for the folly that you do, for the negative that you operate in, for your injurious spirit that you brought into the camp, then you'll really be regretful. Then you'll really have a stain in your name. And that takes a longer time to get back. It's a longer time to get back. He's warning you the steps and what to avoid if you want to be a leader. Don't be this person. Don't be spiritually undeveloped and try to be a judge, because you will be brought in front of the council. Read.
It says, lest at any time thou fear the person of the mighty, and stumbling block in the way of thy uprightness.
Because what the elders are not going to allow happen is you lay a stumbling block in the way of their righteousness, in the way their forefathers led righteously. You're not going to be the person who they equate and connect, swore the truth with. So-and-so name, swore the truth. Negative persecutor. You will be cast down in the congregation before that happens, I promise you. That's not going to be here. So it will behoove all of us to find those big question marks. Those big question marks in our spirit that hold us back from progressing, that hold us back from our leadership. Keep reading.
Verse 7. Offend not against the multitude of a city, and then thou shalt not cast thyself down among the people.
Because that persecuting spirit affects everybody around you. And you do not want to be the object of infamy or distaste because of that negative spirit. It's okay to be developing. It's okay to make mistakes. But how long do you think we have? Or how long do you think the Most High will allow us to operate in this mind frame before He embarrasses us? This is a real thing. Let that go. Give me back to Luke, chapter 18 and verse 10 through 14. Luke chapter 18 and verse 10 through 14. We're going to find the parable specifically created for these people, what their mindset is signified behind. Luke 10. Oh, slightly. Luke 18 and 10 through 14.
Luke chapter 10. Oh, chapter 18, verse 10. Gotcha. Luke chapter 18, verse 10. It says, 2 men went up into the temple to pray.
Yep.
The one a Pharisee and the other a publican.
So we have two people here. We have the obvious sinner. That's the publican. We have the obvious dirtbag. The guy that's going in strip clubs. He's smoking cigarettes. He's prostituting, or she's prostituting, or they're just doing negative. They obviously know you're a sinner. Then we have the Pharisee, who looks like he is on point, who is the leader of the people, who is a scholar, who's got all the physical knowledge, but not the application or the exercise. He's got all the milk, but no butter. These are the two manner of people that we got here. Read.
It says, verse 11, the Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, Yahweh, I thank thee that I am not as other men are.
So he's already said in his mind, I'm better than a lot of people out here. And I appreciate you for making me better than a lot of people out here. More righteous than a lot of people out here. This is a real prayer that some of us to this day do. Thank you for not making me this wicked Jake guy. Brother, that's what we say, huh? I'm glad I was taught the truth. I'll end up like that guy. That's what he's saying. Read.
God. It says, as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican.
He said, I'm a very well-balanced individual. And I'm way better than that guy.
Look, this guy over here.
If I'm comparing myself, that guy ain't going to make it. He's not going to make it. But thank you for giving me the traits and skills so I can make it, Lord. Because I'm doing a pretty good job. That's what he's telling himself.
That we go make it. We go make it.
That is the spirit behind a lot of Israelites. That was kind of funny.
I lighten up a little bit.
I know, we got to, bro. We got to. I ain't creating no jokes today. But I can't. I'm wearing all black today. Serious. Meaning, we get in the mindset of comparing ourselves. This is the pride. This is where that pride starts getting developed. This is when we start turning to persecutors without even knowing it. I'm not unjust. I'm a pretty well-balanced guy. I'll tell you a story. Call myself out. A couple years ago, I'll never forget this conversation because it completely changed my way of thinking. I was talking to Sham Shawan about a problem I had with a brother. I was like, I think I'm a pretty meek guy. I think I'm a pretty understanding and patient brother. But for some reason, this man gets the worst out of me. Can't keep my thoughts pure. And his response to me was, well, you got baby temperance. You're not as meek and patient as you think you are. That shit was, excuse my French, that was a shot. That was a shock to my system. That's how it was. I know I had to do it explicit enough, but that was a shock to my pride. I said, I thought I was a good guy. I actually prided myself on how meek I was. I'm like, I understand that he's going through things. I got patience. I can deal with him in a very mature manner. No, bro, because with that brother at that time, no, I was like, I'm angry. I can't stand him. There's no way.
You're like an elevator, right? Like, bro, all the buttons are getting pushed. I'm going to the 28th floor. All the buttons are getting pushed. Right?
But it was like
the buttons you didn't even know was
it was like I was becoming depressed. I was angry. I said, bro, I got to say something. I'm like a vent. I'm a bottle with no vent that's ready to burst out. Every day I was with this guy, and I couldn't understand why. Because what I said was, no BS. I said, I don't know if it's me or if it's him. I don't even know who it is anymore. I don't know if I'm the problem or he's the problem.
That discernment wasn't there.
I was really hoping you say that he's the problem because I didn't want to be the problem. I don't want to be the bad guy. I didn't want you to tell me, no, you're not mature.
Bad man's out here.
All that knowledge you got, you're still a baby. You're still using milk because you'll pull a verse and it don't do nothing for you. You got a verse in your head and it's not changing your negative eye. This is what we do on a basis. I'm not unjust. I'm not a publican. I'm not an extortion. I don't use people. Pretty good guy. I don't do drugs. I'm a pretty good guy.
I'm a swell guy.
I study the Bible. I read a lot. I'm a good reader. That's not good enough. But this is what boosts our pride up. Because then we'll see a new brother off the street like, man, Hey, I know only 1/3 making it. If we don't compare and contrast, I got to have a better shot than this guy. I got to. This is what we say, whether it be subconscious. I think it's more subconscious or deliberate thing. Some may say it's subconscious. I think it's deliberate. I think we say it on the slide in different ways, different mechanical ways. Most of us try to fight it, though. Hopefully. I hope we fight that thought. But that's in this. That's there. I'm better than this person. And of all the people in the world, you see all the bad things that was written in the Bible about our people. I mean, if I'm comparing myself to them, I'm not as wicked as these guys. These guys are drinking blood and eating babies and doing more native than the nations. How do you get more native than the diddlers in the world? That's bad.
And just because you don't say it like that, I'm better than this guy. Like you say, I'm not as bad.
I'm not as bad. I do more. I'm more dedicated to the body. I sacrifice more. I believe more. My faith is better. My belt is better. I was gonna say so. The point is, read it from the top of it.
Luke chapter 18, and now
My shoes is better. My clothes is better. My whip is better. No, I'm playing.
verse 11. It says, the Pharisee stood and prayed thus within himself, Yahweh, I thank thee that I am not as other men are.
It said, I appreciate that you didn't make me as these base men, these worldly guys. Read.
Extortioners,
Uh-huh.
unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican.
Exactly. Read.
I fast twice in the week.
Now we're gloating now. I fast too. Not only am I on point, I go above and beyond. I do more than what's required of me. Nobody asked me to do this. I do it because I love you so much, Yahweh. I'm so dedicated.
I try to get your attention twice a week.
Brother, I'm fasting and I give alms. 10th of everything. And I save a 10th of all my money for the poor. I'm righteous. I'm on point.
Feel pretty good.
These are my accolades. This is what we boast about. This is what we boast about. Read.
I give tithes of all that I possess.
Ah, man. He's on point. If we're going by the letter, it's kind of on point. If he wrote down his accolades, hey, that does sound good. But what spirit was he in when he was saying this? Because he's using this to justify why he's not changing the big issues in himself. We'll get to that in a little bit. But keep reading.
And the publican, standing far off, would not lift up so much his eyes.
Then we have the obvious sinner, who is, in his mind, I'm not even deserving to be in this classroom. We get those students too. They've done so much in the world, they feel like they're too far gone. I don't even want to lift my head in the church. I don't even want to look up to the sky. You get so low, you don't even want him to look at you out of fear and out of shame. He said, but of these two examples, one was praised and the other was condemned. Read.
It says, not lift up my eyes, not lift so much as his eyes even unto heaven, but smote his breast, saying, Lord, be merciful to me.
Only thing he can do is ask for forgiveness because he knows he ain't living right. And he got nothing to brag about.
He was smoting shit.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
The dramatized version. I remember when I was young. I'm throwing a story out there. I was young, and I had a girlfriend, and she was the love of my life, and I was a 12-year-old, right?
Quote unquote.
Yeah. I thought we were gonna get married, and then she cheated on me with some guy, and I came home, and I just tore my shirt. Like, ah! That's my favorite shirt. I can't believe this. I'm done. I don't want to do nothing no more. And I was sincerely angry at it.
You're a
And
Hulkamaniac.
I played it because in my head I'm like, this is how you show emotion. This is how you show that you're sad. No one was even there to watch me. I did it for myself. I was like, I can't believe it. Oh, that's my favorite shirt. How emotional I am. Nah, bro, look. I'm not saying this person was faking, but that's the dramatized explanation. I'm so hurt. I'm so depressed. I'm physically showing how sad I am. This is where that person was at. Because they knew that it was slipping. Look, when you're in that point of mind, you don't know if you even want to make it. You don't even know if you want to stand in front of Christ. It's just, hey, condemn me. Because I know I made a lot of mistakes. That is the fearfulness that a lot of us have either been. I know if I've been in that point before. I don't even know if he wants to listen to my prayers right now. He probably ain't listening to my prayers. That feeling of absence when you like, no one's listening to me right now, that's a scary feeling.
Yeah, bro, it's a void, bro.
It is a void.
It's like you're traveling, and it's like dark clouds, and you're just in the void, bro. You're in limbo like all day.
You are in limbo for months.
And the thoughts is like, you know the Bible says, my son, in thy sickness, be not negligent, but pray to the Most High. But you're like, but wait a second, my prayers are sent. I don't think he wants to smell that right now.
No,
I don't think
he don't want to
he
smell
don't want
that.
to smell this right now.
It's funky,
He doesn't want to see this channel right now. He
Bro.
doesn't want to hear this song right now. It's not even a song.
brother.
It's slowed in reverb, dog.
And that is
For those that know, it's slowed in reverb, dog.
that's the point.
Fuck.
No, I'm right with you, bro. I know what that's like. You sitting here, you praying, like, man, this is empty. He don't want to hear this, bro. Because the second thought, if you know a little bit of the scripture, it's like, well, the prayer of the sinner is an abomination to the Lord.
I was like,
how long do I got to be righteous and not feel like a sinner no more? I don't even know no more. I just want to pray. No, I want to pray.
You got one bad survey, you need 10 good surveys to
yo.
make up for it.
Well, actually, that
It's singing 10 times harder. But it's like, bro, but I need God now. I feel bad now.
right now,
Yeah.
right
I
now.
can't even
now.
seek it 10 times harder until I feel
Now,
comfort. I'm down to dumps. G. I need some Jesus in my life, please.
Yeah.
I was so down bad. I spit on my fault, bro. I was so down bad. I started going to FCA meetings. For those who know what FCA meetings is, it's like a Christian athlete center. I needed the Bible so bad. I need to hear something, even if it's. I'm not gonna say it online. Even if it's like some watered down version of God. I need to hear some type of upbeat. Cause I'm just so out of there right now. Because if I don't hear right now, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might wild out. This is what it was. This is where he was at. I need to go and seek help. Because if you can't help me, Lord, there's nothing I can do. I'm too far gone. Read on. What you got?
I had a precept on that delusion of God, the Pharisees' mindset.
What is it?
It's 1 Corinthians 13, 3 and 4.
Yeah, I don't have it. You got to read it.
1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 3. He was talking about being charitable, going fasting and alms.
Okay.
And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor,
Yep.
and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profited me nothing. And the charity in verse 4 is that the charity of the proper judge.
Yep.
Charity suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not.
Kind of.
Charity vaunteth not itself.
Ooh.
Is not puffed up.
Ooh. It says out of all the good you do in your life, if you don't have this component, you can't even be a proper judge. You got to be able to suffer long. You got to be kind. Kindness has to be in your nature.
Right, because that charity aspect is like, I'm in the work.
Yeah.
I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm present, I'm doing the work.
Yep.
But if you don't have this aspect of that charitable thought process and its giving nature, then you're not a proper judge.
Because we can go through the routine. Israel's master at mastering routines. Once we have a system and a structure, we'll just stay with that structure and judge ourselves based off of the initial structure we were taught. This is why the Pharisees and everybody else were basing their righteousness off of the law, the routine of the law. If I have a clear, pure point measurement of how much I have to do to be on point, we'll do just that and won't go any further. But charity does their day-to-day job and more, and has kindness, has the ability to be temperate, which is to suffer long, does not envy, and does not vaunt, meaning compare myself or boast myself up. Because it's not about me. Because again, everything I'm doing is for the will of the Father. It's for the edification of the Father. And that's what the Pharisee was missing in his prayer. But the prayer is a reflection of his day-to-day life. That's what he was missing entirely. He said, I'd rather have the sinner, the down and dirty sinner, who accepts I need to be humble, I need to learn and grow and be retaught, than the person who's stuck in their contrary way of thinking. Finish it up in Luke 10. Who was reading that?
And you could, just a side note, you could find a good example of that in 1 Timothy 3 on down about the bishop.
Yeah.
You know, being blameless,
Yeah.
vigilant, sober, of good behavior,
18.
giving the hospitality, you know, on that precept that Naga Hop pulled right now.
Kind of. 18 and verse.
Giving the hospitality.
Right, 13 right now.
18 to 10. Or
13. I think 13.
13 now.
Yeah. No, it's 14. Give me 14.
Come. Luke 18, verse 14.
Yeah, move on.
I tell you, this man went down to his house justified.
He said that man is justified more than who? Read.
Rather than the other.
Publican, right?
The publican. The sinner that accepted he needed help and he was not ready to see him be a judge. shoot, he couldn't even judge himself and correct himself, and he needed to be retaught. He was more just and justified than the Pharisee. Read.
Come. And I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For every one that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted.
And this is what we went into in that on Ecclesiastes 7. If you exalt yourself, the Most High is going to bring you down. But why? What fuels that fire? Give me Ecclesiastes 28 verse 9. What fuels the fire to make you exalt yourself? Or to give you confidence to be more exalted than what you are, than what we should be? Read.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 28, verse 9. A sinful man disquieteth friends.
It's a sinful man disquiets or disturbs friends. Read.
And maketh debate among them that be at peace.
But why are they doing this? Were they doing it to edify? Were they checking and admonishing and bombarding you with scriptures and bombarding you with their vain opinions on how you should operate in your life, in your household? Because Christ wanted them to say that? Or they wanted to say that? Well, why would they want to say that? Read.
Verse 10. Salaki, middle of 9. I'll just read 9 again. A sinful man disquieteth friends, and maketh debate among them that be at peace. As the matter of the fire is, so it burneth.
It says because people do this when they're strong at something. Whatever I'm strong at, whether it be a biblical aspect or not, it's my preference. I am going to... Let's let the scripture stop. Read on.
Verse 10. As the matter of the fire is, so it burneth. And as a man's strength is, so is his wrath.
Whatever I'm good at and I'm strong at, or I'm confident in, or I take pride in, that's where my strength to argue comes from. That's why I make it such a point to make you change in this one arena. We're very one-dimensional. And we hold on to that one aspect that we find confidence in ourselves. This is what the Pharisee just did. I'm not unjust. I'm not an extortion. I'm not an adulterer. I don't sin in these couple of arenas. So I'm going to embarrass, blast, and injure and vex the person who is bad in these arenas. Not considering you're just as bad in either the same field or in a different aspect of your spirit. You're just as sinful. You're just as neglectful. You're just as slothful. Read on.
Middle of 10. And according to his riches, his anger riseth.
Yep. Read.
And the stronger they are which contend, the more they will be inflamed.
Meaning the more confident that person is in their own ability or their own virtue or their own way of thinking, the stronger that contention is. The stronger that debate is. The more harm that debate does.
Yeah, it's not a gradual dissipation. It starts to become progressive.
Yes, exactly. It's a constant thing. And now it becomes harmful. You're doing more harm than good. Read.
Verse 11. And hasty contention kindleth a fire.
Hasty, by definition, means easily excitable to wrath or irritable. It says when you're that type of person, you kindle a fire very quickly. That babbler, that thoughtless talker. You're not thinking about the Bible when you're corrected. You're thinking about your preference, your opinion. Read.
Middle of 11. And in hasty fighting sheddeth blood.
Let that go. Give me Ecclesiastes 18 and verse 18.
Ecclesiastes chapter 18, verse 18.
Yep. We're going to go down to 20.
A fool will upbraid churlishly.
This is a foolish person will upbraid churlishly. Churlishly means narrow-minded. A fool, when he upbraids or corrects harshly, is very narrow-minded. They don't see the bigger picture and the correction. They don't see what they're doing or what spirit they're rolling in. They don't see how this was not the time for that spirit, or this could have been time for a different spirit. That shows their level of discernment or lack thereof. It says the fool does not have the capability to see the big picture in correction and chastisement. Read.
A fool will upbraid churlishly, and a gift of the envious consumeth the eyes. Learn before thou speak.
So we have to learn before we speak. And we have to relearn before we become a judge. Before we become a judge, I have to learn what Christ would want me to say. How Christ and the apostles and the teachers and the leaders and my elders would say. I've heard brothers in the past say, well, if I'm thinking about this elder, this is what he want me to do. What you have to do is get a sharper perspective of how that elder thinks. That's your job and your duty. If you truly want to get the understanding they have. If you truly want to have the level of discernment they have. I have to know more about him and his way of thinking. What does he rely on? Which is what? The scriptures. He's still pulling biblical concepts. That's what developed his level of discernment. Read.
Learn before thou speak, and use physique.
What is physique, class?
Strength.
No.
Like technique, strategy. It's the strategy you choose to use, or your intent. By
No. Physique is medicine. It says you have to use physique or medicine or what?
Or ever thou be sick.
Or you're going to be sick in the spirit, in the mind. What is the medicine, class? Wisdom of Solomon 16 says it's the scriptures, the word. It's not the bomb, it's not the healing element.
that word.
That word, if you don't use the physique or the scriptures, you will become sick or poison yourself. For instance, for those who have been in a situation or in a seat of judgment, or to be a judge, if you're not even in the right mentality, does that not pollute your mind even more? How easy is it to get into condemnation or condemnation mode? When I start looking at this person real jacked up. Because you're not using physique. And it also shows you, if it's getting tainted, it's because you weren't using the scriptures to bring out the correction. That wasn't the motivation on why you did it. You did it off of your feelings. You was frustrated. We were angry. We were hurt. We were offended. That's why I'm going to say what I say. That's why I'm going to push the point the way I'm pushing. That's when I start igniting flames, sparking contentions that weren't there. That's when that happens. Because using the medicine is not the priority when it's time to be used. Keep reading.
Verse 20. Before judgment, examine thyself.
Brother, you got to examine yourself in your own thought process, your own spiritual state of being. If I'm about to judge something, where is my spiritual state of being at? Where are my thoughts at? Do I have the temperance available to even correct properly? To look at the situation properly? And so you have to examine yourself. Read.
And in the day of visitation, thou shalt find mercy.
You have to examine yourself, so in the day of visitation, you'll be able to get mercy from the Most High. Because again, He's judging you based off of how you judge everybody else. Matthew 7. For what you measure, you'll be measured by the same measurement. Nah, I don't want the verse. I'll just quote it. Let that go. Give me Proverbs 18 and verse 12 through 13. And then jump to 20 and verse 20 through 21. So 12 and 13 first.
Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 12.
Yeah, read that.
Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 12. Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty.
This is before destruction. You already had a prideful mind. Before you were brought to judgment, you had pride in your heart. That's what haughtiness means. Before Christ came, you had pride. Read.
And before honor is humility.
But if we want honor in our leadership, if we want honor in our judgment, which means to be respected, which means to be backed, then we need to have it in humility. We need to be in humility, a humble spirit. That's the state of mind that we have to have if we want what we're saying to be backed. Read.
He that answereth a matter before he heareth it, it is folly and shame unto
This is
him.
another aspect of an improper judge. If I'm not properly listening and examining the cause, remember, what was that definition of judge again? It was to, let me see. Give me 4 again.
Judge 1828, point number 4. One who has skill to decide on the merits of a question or on the value of anything. One who can discern truth and propriety.
It says this person has the ability to discern truth and propriety. How can you discern a question properly? How can you discern what's true if you don't have all the facts? We got to slow down, and even the mindset behind how we correct. Can I examine everything that's in front of me before I jump to a conclusion? That's why I always tell men, it's very difficult to just hear one side of the story and take their word for face value. Because men be seeing things skewered. They be seeing some things that ain't there. They be seeing ghosts. Brother, you hear a man's full story and how he processes information, you're like, bro, you just create that on the spot. But that's how they see life. I can't take that person for face value. I need to hear both sides so I can get a proper analysis on what's going on. Because if not, then I'm going to be the one that's shamed and looked foolish. This is also part of being a judge and not a persecutor. I have to know both sides and be able to properly discern both sides before I come to a conclusion. What you got, Karaya? What you got?
Ecclesiasticus 5 and 12.
Okay. Read it.
Okay. Ecclesiasticus chapter 5 and verse 12. If thou hast understanding, answer thy neighbor.
Uh-huh.
If not, lay thy hand upon thy mouth.
And that's why we went earlier. Silence can be accounted as wisdom. It says, but the babbler is hated. The thoughtless talker is hated. The person who doesn't have all the facts is hated. But sometimes, not knowing everything, not having all the details, and not wanting to jump the gun on something is the best way to operate so that you don't look or dampen your judgment. That's what it's saying. Read that in Proverbs 18:13 again.
Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 13. He that answereth a matter before he heareth it, it is folly and shame unto him.
Yeah. But a lot of times we do that again. Not all the time, but in a lot of arenas we do that because I let the Bible talk. Jump to verse 20.
Verse 20. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth.
What it's saying is we get satisfied, we feel fulfilled when we get our word in. Read it from the top again.
God. It says Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 20. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth.
Yep.
I got the last word.
I got the last word, and my perspective is what you now hold as truth. This is a problem in a lot of judges. When you prioritize your will on being right, I have to be right.
And you get in the last word, you think you solidify yourself and making your point.
Thank you, but I couldn't find the words for it. That's perfect, bro. You solidify your leadership. That means you're constantly trying to reaffirm your leadership with your words. I have to convince you to believe in me. Ooh, that's a dangerous spirit to be in. I got to convince you why I'm a leader with my words and not my actions and my words. This is what it's saying. It said, a man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth. Read.
and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled.
Read on.
Death and life are in the power of the tongue.
You have the power to destroy, and you have the power to build up. You have the power to hurt. You have the power to vex. You have the power to build up. You have the power to motivate. What do you like to do? What's in your spirit? Read.
And they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof.
What's constantly coming out of your mouth? Are you constantly tearing down? Are you constantly building up? Are you constantly vexing? Are you constantly motivating? So it says, before you judge any man, hear what he speaks. What is the spirit behind what he's saying? Look past just the words. What are you really trying to say? What's the motivation behind this? Was it really necessary? Did you have to pick on this person? Did you have to go at this person or at this situation as hard as you did? Did you have to be that adamant on your opinion? Whatever spirit you like or you entertain your mind is what words you choose. It's how you talk. Give me Job 15:2 through 6. Did I skip Proverbs 29? I did. I'm tripping.
Proverbs 29.
Yeah, no, yeah. Go to Job 15:2 through 6. There was a verse I skipped, bro. I'm tripping. That was a good one.
Come.
I'm ready.
Job 15, verse 2. Should a wise man utter vain knowledge?
Cool. Should a wise man utter worthless knowledge? Out of season knowledge. Is that wisdom? Read.
And fill his belly with the east wind?
Read.
Should he reason with unprofitable talk?
Are you reasoning and debating with unprofitable talk? Has no value. Is exhorting nobody. Is doing nothing for Christ's will. Doing nothing for Christ's will. Is that what come out of your mouth? That's what a wise man does, according to the Bible. Read.
Or with speeches wherewith he can do no good?
If you're not edifying, building up, motivating, how are you helping the ministry? How are you helping the cause? How are you a judge? No, you're a persecutor. You like to vex and injure and inflict wounds. That's the motivation behind what you do every day. That's why you acquire information. That's why you study. You got a notebook full of battle bars. That's all you use. Just battle bars, bro. I'm just here to cut you. No depth, no knowledge. Don't ask me no knowledge questions. But if you want to get cut, I got you.
Some knife hands.
I'm going to get you. Let's talk about Esau. I got you, G. Let's talk about it. But anything else to add substance, I don't focus on that. But a wise man does. A wise man prioritizes this aspect. This is what he can do the most good at. Read on.
Job 15:4. Yea, thou castest off fear and restraineth prayer before the Most High.
When you have this mentality, you cast off fear of judgment from the Most High. You forget the Most High is watching your actions. He's watching how you operate amongst your people. And you restrain the prayer from reaching the Most High's ear. That's what he's saying. He's not listening to your prayer no more. We just said why earlier. It says that the prayer of the wicked is an abomination. He's not hearing that. Read.
For thy mouth uttereth thine iniquity, and thou choosest the tongue of the crafty.
You know why it's crafty? Because you use scripture to get your way. You use the word to get your perspective in there. Your opinion in there. That's the tongue of the crafty. That's called manipulation. You're manipulating in a negative sense. Not to motivate and not to force him back into Christ. You want to force him back to you. Read.
Thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I.
It ain't the teachers, it ain't the elders that are condemning you. It's what you say condemns you. What we say condemns us. We just get called out on it. It's us. Our perspective, our priority has to change. How we view things has to change. It has to be reformed if we want to understand the will of the Most High. Read on.
Yea, thine own lips testify against thee.
Okay. Matthew 23 and verse 24. Let's speed it up. Matthew 23 and verse 24. Luke 11 and 46.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 24.
Uh-huh.
Ye blind guides.
He says, you blind guys. He's talking to the Pharisees again. You are a blind leader. Because again, you're narrow-minded. Because you want to operate churlishly. You're narrow-minded. You don't see the full value or the full impact that you could be doing. Read.
Which strain at a gnat.
You strain at the smallest thing. You won't let the smallest thing pass. You got an opinion on the smallest thing, the most irrelevant thing. A gnat is very irrelevant.
That moat.
That's that moat, exactly. You're straining on the most irrelevant, vain thing. But in contrast, you're letting what go by? Read.
And swallow a camel.
But you swallow. You allow the most negative, the foul thing to slide through in yourself. Brothers be complaining about other brothers on the truck all day long, but their households be in shambles. Ribs be angry because they're selfish as the house. But you got an opinion on how selfish this brother is because he wants to go to sleep on the truck. Swallow an insignificant thing. He closes his eyes for 5 seconds out. He was out for 20 minutes. I had to blow him up.
You blink too long.
Brother, you weren't awake. You were asleep. I saw you. Why are you looking so hard for something? We be looking to check. We be looking to check. Looking to correct. You got a stain right there. So I see it. You don't see it, but I see it. It's right there in the corner, left corner of your hand. Bro, come on, right? Come on, bro. But don't let anybody else call out what you do. Oh, no. Stay in order. You better stay in order. You better lock in. Brothers doing this at the house too, with their ribs. Don't you tell me about myself, but I'm going to blast you all day long. That's not merciful, bro. That's not merciful. Again, there's a time to correct. There's a time to teach. But are you a judge? And have you had proper discernment to be qualified to do that? Or you got some scriptures. You got ammunition. You got a loaded gun. You don't do it yet. You got no proper training. No certification. That's dangerous. Read.
God, verse 25.
No,
Woe unto you. You don't want to go any further?
No, give me I'm missing all the good angles. Give me 23.
Verse 23.
I took it out of my class. I'm tripping. Yeah.
Matthew 23 and 23.
Yeah.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees.
Going at it again. You guys know the law. You know the Bible. You got some scriptures. You got battle bars. Read.
Hypocrites.
You're still a hypocrite. All the information in the world, still hypocritical. Read.
For ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin.
You go above and beyond in certain arenas in the spirit. But the bigger things is what you let slide by. You focus on the smallest details and even your own spirit. But the big glaring things, you ignore and you bypass. Read.
And have omitted the weightier matters of the law.
Christ said there's weightier things you need to be focusing on. Focus on your family. Focus on your temperament. Focus on your brotherly love, your outlook, your skewed way of viewing things, your lack of judgment. That's what is the weightier matters that you're not focusing on. We focus on the small stuff.
Can't see the obvious that the elephant in the room.
Because we're not looking for the elephant in the room. Because the elephant in the room is too hard to deal with in our own selves. We're insecure about the elephant.
That's a way to matter.
We're insecure about the elephant, so I'm going to strain at this small gnat over here. The fly that's going around the room. I'm going to focus on the fly, but there's a pink elephant inside the room that's defecating all over the floor. It's making your spirit stink real bad. But this one fly is the problem. I can't sleep with this fly here. I gotta get this dude, bro. There's a huge glaring issue that you've omitted, that you are not focused on right now, that needs to be your priority. Read.
judgment, mercy,
The law, you got no mercy, but you want to be a judge. You ain't mastered the law yet, but you want to be a judge. Read.
and faith.
And your faith is your faith is a reflection of how you deal with your brothers. How oft you can take their foolery. How well you can take it. And how stable your temperament is when you're going through it. That's also a reflection of your faith. Read.
These ought ye to have done.
He says, this is what you should have been prioritizing. Not to say what you're doing before was wicked. It just wasn't the priority. How about you do both? Read.
And not to leave the other undone.
Stop being one-dimensional Israelites. Awards calls it bench press Israelites. We got one or two great qualities in us, and everything else is garbage. We just forgot about everything else. We'll wait until we're officer or captain or whatever to start maybe thinking about it. By then, it's too late. By then, it's way too late. Because you should have done this, the small things, the small issues, and the huge issues to make you a well-rounded individual and a more perfect, more complete, and more mature judge. That's what they should have did. That's what we have to do. Let that go. Give me Luke 11 and verse 46.
Luke chapter 11, verse 46. And he said, Woe unto you also, ye lawyers, for ye lade men with burdens grievous to be borne.
And this is the point. We lay burdens on men that are extremely difficult to follow. Does that mean they shouldn't be followed? No. It just means they're difficult to be followed. How do we know they're difficult to be followed? Read on.
And ye yourselves touch not the burdens with one of your fingers.
Because you can't follow it yourself. You want subjection. Do you subject yourself to your elders? Or are you quick to combat? You want obedience. Are you obedient? You want spotless example. Are you spotless? Everything that we require in somebody else, can you live up to it? I never forget, Sham Shawan brought a class years ago, talking about how men got to clean the house. That was unheard of to me. I was like, what in the cuss, Sham Shawan? That was not what I grew up thinking this was going to be. I got to clean the house too? Proverbs 31 says the woman takes care of the house. How about that? But I had to look at myself. Well, why don't you want to clean the house, Elisha? Because you're a little slothful. No, you're really slothful. When dishes are there, you will let them stay there until she cleans it. I had to start looking at myself. And you know what? If I'm going to be asking her to do this, can I stoop down and do it myself? Can I clean these toilets? Can I clean this bathtub? Can I do my own laundry? Can I develop the skills to learn how to cook? I decided to learn how to cook for the simple reason, the fact that I didn't want to have to put her through anything that I didn't want to do. Because I didn't want to cook. I thought it was too much work.
Bro, I started cooking, bro. It was coming out Bombay.
And it's fine, too. It's fine because you made it yourself. That now you get pride in that. You know, and I can gloat about, man, my steaks is fine. I got the butter, rosemary, garlic. Ooh, come on now.
Fresh rosemary, some
Look,
thyme.
I made cane sauce the other day from scratch. Worcester with the mayo and the ketchup. Ooh. Brother, come on. I don't need to go to Cane's no more. I make my own. What am I saying?
That you're hungry.
Aside from that I was hungry. And I am Chef Boar Shy. The point is, you caught that one, right? That was the pride of me, right? The point is, if I was going to be demanding this, am I humble enough to do it myself and be good at it and be consistent at it? This is what we as judges and leaders have to do, because now I can understand your perspective if it's lacking. I understand when I come home and my rib after a long day didn't get all the chores done, because guess what? When I was tired, I didn't want to do nothing. That don't bypass her. That don't mean I ain't gonna say nothing. But like, hey, this house dirty. You know, this is getting bad. We're gonna have to do something. I'll help her this time. Instead of just watching, I'll help. I'm like, you know, we'll do it together. It'll be a group project. We're gonna suffer it together. That's leadership. I'm gonna lead from the front. I'm gonna try it myself. Can we do that? Can we start living the words that we say? Can we live the examples that we do? Are we like the Pharisees who will drop orders, drop commandments, drop burdens that we can't follow ourselves, and we struggle with ourselves. But if it's not to perfection or to our liking, we got a problem with it. It's a blast fest. This is how the Pharisees operate. This is how the persecutors operate. But as a judge, you need to be a leader. You need to be blameless. You need to be the example. Let that go. Give me Ecclesiastes 28 and verse 1 through 7.
Ecclesiastes chapter 28, verse 1. God. Ecclesiastes chapter 28, verse 1. He that revengeth shall find vengeance from the Most High, and he will surely keep his sins in remembrance.
Meaning, when I'm a revenger, and my priority is to hurt and inflict and injure because of a person's shortcomings, and I'm quick and I'm hasty to do that, so the Most High will keep my sins in remembrance. Again, that Matthew 7 concept is all through the Bible. Whatever we hold accountable, we start enacting. Read on.
God. It says, forgive thy neighbor the hurt that he have done unto thee, so shall thy sins also shall be forgiven when thou prayest.
And this is how you operate in judgment. I have to, before I judge, I have to first forgive whatever you inflicted on me. However personally you might have made the conversation or the argument. And then I can properly go in and let you know scripturally where it was right or it was wrong. This is what Galatians 6 and 1 talks about. If you're spiritual, you restore him in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself. How have men treated me? How has the Most High treated me? How would I want to be treated in this situation if I made a mistake? Or am I quick to condemn, to persecute? Read.
God. One man beareth hatred against another, and doth he seek pardon from the Most High?
And this is the point. You got mad hatred, mad vexation, but you want the Most High to pardon you from your shortcomings. Read.
Verse 4. He showeth no mercy to a man, which is like himself, and doth he ask forgiveness of his own sin?
That's the hypocrisy there. You have the same ailments, but you expect perfection from somebody else that you have not perfected yet, that you haven't matured in yet, that you haven't exercised enough to be maturing yet. This is the question, or the rhetorical question that he's asking. You want the Lord to forgive you, but you don't forgive it in somebody else who has the same issues in you. That doesn't make any sense.
Or when you were learning at the same time or level that person was at, you had those same ailments. Maybe not then and there at that point in time when you're training that person, but when you were learning, you can't remember your shortcomings. You can't remember where you fell short at.
Or you had worse issues at that same developmental stage. A lot of us forget that too. The person we're riding so hard and trying to sit here and in the spirit of correction, teach them how they're off. You forget that person was doing a way better job than you at that same spot. But we gotta prove a point. I gotta be right. I gotta establish my dominance. I gotta make you know who's superior in the spirit. That's not how you make that known. Read on.
Verse 5. If he that is but flesh nourisheth hatred, who will entreat for pardons of his sins?
And that's the point. This is how you know there's hatred there. You can't have hatred and be a judge. You can't have envy and be a judge. These cloud judgment. They cloud your way of viewing things, your perspective on life. It makes it hard to see what's right and wrong because it's not based off of the Bible. The spiritual rule is man's wisdom. Read on.
Verse 6. Remember thy end.
Remember your end. How do you want to be treated in the end? How do you want people to think about you in the end? Read.
And let enmity cease.
Yep. Read.
Remember corruption and death, and abide in the commandments.
We have to abide in the commandments, and we have to remember corruption and death is in the tongue. That is in the tongue. Can I abide in the scriptures so that I am spotless before the Lord and in front of men? Last verse. Oh, yeah, give me 7. Oh, yeah.
Verse 7. Remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor. Remember the covenant of the highest and wink at ignorance.
Because when I'm thinking about the Most High, it's easier for me to wink at ignorance and not take it personal. Because that's what the Most High does for us.
Wink at ignorance.
He winks at our ignorances. He winks at our shortcomings. And he's skilled enough to know when is the time to judge and when is the time to wink. When is the time to stay silent and when is the time to blaze up. That's mastery. That's skill. That's what a true judge is. Let that go. Last verse. Proverbs 29 and verse 26 through 27.
That's when the Most High He means that side.
Yeah,
We want to be able to do the same thing and have that mercy.
how many times has he winked at our mistakes out? Our shortcomings. Countless. Every day he's winking out mistakes. He could be blasting us for this. Well, it wouldn't be small. It'd still be a sin, but in our perspective, it would be small. Even our thoughts could be blasted if we really wanted to be technical. But he winks and he considers and he understands. Somebody's get mad because a person changed their face. How many times have we disgruntled our face and we went through something we didn't want to go through? Like the Most High specifically put us through. But we want to get angry because I saw countless fallout. Had to show movies off. Bro.
Jake be calling you out like, yeah, what's this guy over here?
Why is he so angry? He's an angry guy over here, bro. Bro, this is the hypocrisy. This is what we're saying. Proverbs 29 and verse 26.
God, Proverbs chapter 29, verse 26. And many seek the ruler's favor.
Many people seek the ruler's favor, Christ's favor. Read.
But every man's judgment cometh from the Lord.
But proper judgment, being able to be a good judge, that comes from the Most High. And it will be backed because of the sincerity and the pureness behind it. If you want the ruler's favor, this is how you have to operate in thinking. Read.
Verse 27. An unjust man.
And this is what we cannot be. Read.
An unjust man is an abomination to the just.
You cannot be an unjust man and be an abomination to the just and the people that are trying. Don't stain the excellency that Christ showed in his leadership. Don't stain the endless examples in the Bible to show you right and wrong. Don't stain what your elders have built. It says, an unjust man is an abomination to the just. That's an oppressor. That is a persecutor. Read.
And he that is upright in the way is abomination to the wicked.
Let us be an abomination to the wicked, because they despise how on point we are. That's fine. But don't be the reason why someone doesn't want to change or doesn't want to come back to Christ because of how you operate or how we operate as a whole, as a unit. Does that make sense? We got more. We don't need to go to more. The point is solidified. Is there any questions? Comments? Concerns? Okay. That being the case, the water for those that are watching online, the water for those that are in class. We do have Sabbath tomorrow. Shamshwan War and Dahlia will be back.
Cool.
But again, appreciate it. Love everybody, and y'all be safe. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.